Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about Jeffrey Clark's disbarment hearing in DC. So Jeffrey Clark, remember, is the man who would be king, the architect of the coup attempt in the Department of Justice, and the sudden favorite of Donald Trump, who wanted to make him the attorney general. And all anybody had to do was just write a letter to Georgia saying that the Department of Justice had detected some irregularities or improprieties in their election. And as Trump and as testimony came out in Clark's hearing yesterday, in fact, Trump said, the Republicans in Congress will do the rest. Okay, this is a mini trial. And, for all our back and forth, for all the sorts of glimmers of the evidence that that various prosecutors and especially Jack Smith have collected in pretrial motions or leaking, generally from the defense side. We haven't really had, somebody sitting there in a chair and talking about just what happened and get a real sense, including inevitably some new details about, in this case, January 6th. And that's what's happening. There's a guy whose job it is to run suspension proceedings for the District of Columbia bar. And there's a set of attorneys who are acting as judges. And the guy is calling the DC disciplinary head witnesses, and starting with the Richard Donahue, who was second in command to a man named Jeffrey Rosen when Jeff Clark tried to pull his coup. So we had Richard Donahue, and this is also Pat Philbin. And we will hear from the acting attorney, Jeff Rosen. They've been in a grand jury, but we haven't known what they would say. So, and it's not as if they're, champing at the bit to bring down Clark. The whole thing is, a seamy mess, I think, but they're doing their duty. And so we have a few-day hearing going on, and Donahue was on the stand and testified about what Clark did, what Clark said, Clark's pushing on him to send this letter out to Georgia, and the whole brouhaha that ensued. We're going to hear similar testimony from the other bigwigs in DOJ. Now, Clark is going to try to say, there are opening statements here, as in the trial, and Clark is going to try to say, it was all an internal disagreement, just sort of talking things over. And they never sent the letter to Georgia anyway, and he was just acting sincerely according to his understanding and beliefs, and you can't disbar an attorney for that. In other words, he's not trying, as he might, to use the defense that, the president ordered, and therefore you have to do it. That's sort of dating back to the 1968 My Lai massacre, a kind of, it's sort of understood you just can't you just can't comply with an illegal order like that. And so that's not going to be his stance. Rather, he was sincere and nothing really happened, sort of no harm, no foul. I'll talk a little bit in a separate tape about Pat Philbin. His testimony is especially important, but he provided his impressions that Clark was very misguided, but he can't say that he was acting insincerely or didn't actually believe it. And that's going to be the sort of centerpiece of the defense. The head of the DC disciplinary agency is acting like a prosecutor and has made an opening address to the I think 5 attorneys gathered and said, this is absolute treacherous. You just can't have an attorney violating the Constitution in this way and violating his oath. It's especially bad because he worked at the Department of Justice. So we're in an interesting period. We're supposed to hear any day about the John Eastman proceedings out in California, and Clark has said that he's not going to testify here because of his Fifth Amendment privilege. Oh, and by the way, these hearings tend to be looser than trials. So there's hearsay, and I just mentioned Philbin talking about what seemed to be in Clark's mind. That's not the sort of thing you could normally testify to at a trial. And that has to do with special rules for a jury, but they don't apply in disciplinary proceedings. So we're getting a full picture, for one, from people who we haven't heard from, and a real preview also of what, and now, of course, it could be months, depending on when the January 6th trial proceeds, and possibly Fulton County. And so it's A, illuminating, and B, Clark is, really facing some serious accountability. He's just a kind of lifetime apparatchik in DOJ and back and forth to law firms. If he can't practice law, it's a real body blow, but nothing like the criminal charges that he faces down in Fulton County. Okay, so a preview from the main folks of the episode that Clark's in the middle of, the attempt to get DOJ to falsely browbeat Georgia and then somehow to leverage that into illegal conduct by members of Congress to just pluck the election away from Biden, engender and sow chaos and a long enough delay so that things go into legislatures where the Republicans held the advantage. So we're getting a pretty good, best since January 6th committee focus on that. And the next day or two, we'll be hearing more about it from the key witnesses who were at the DOJ in those days in early January 2021. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.